Okay, so I'm here with Matt Harris, the director and producer of Rom Boys, 40 Years of Rad. So, Matt, this is your first feature piece. I mean, how was that? You know, a little bit daunting, like, you know what I mean? What was the impetus to have this as your first?
I guess I've kind of worked in the business for a long time, mostly doing commercial stuff, documentary for TV. I was shooting a one-day thing yesterday, and I've always had someone over my shoulder telling me what to do and how to do it. And I wanted to do something where I had sort of complete control. I've always wanted to do that, really. I never found a story, and with this story, it was a kind of personal story that I thought actually this might be that opportunity to take complete creative control over something. And yeah, I mean it ended up being way more daunting and time consuming than I had planned.
Oh man. But maybe a little less, a bit easier and not as dangerous as skateboarding or BMXing.
Well, I don't know, because I had to, like when I sort of started on it, I thought, well, if I'm going to interview these guys, I've got to sort of show that I know what I'm talking about. So I picked up a skateboard again after 35 years of not being on one. And yeah, sure enough, within 2 weeks, I had a fractured shoulder from Rom, which I can still feel now. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you really get some battle wounds there, man. I I could just never, I could never skate. Just one of those things. Like I see friends do it, but every time I just put my foot on that board and it just, poof, you know what I mean, just went flying. It just,
Yeah.
skating just did not go hand in hand.
Yeah. Actually, I think now, after sort of 5 years, I'm probably better. Actually, I was always rubbish, but I think I'm probably a bit better than I was back then, even now. So, and I'm 50. I'm 51.
Oh man, but a break. It's a bit harder at this age than it was back in the day, right?
Yeah. Well, I saw it. It still hurts now. If I bend it now, I'm like, oh, what was I doing?
Like it's interesting because it's like obviously it seems that you started this at one point, and then towards the end we get and today, and then we get the news. Like when you started making this piece, was there the indication that the park was in this trouble?
No, I mean, when I started it, I thought, right, I'll do 6 months of shooting it, and then 6 months of editing it, and then it'll be done in a year, and I'll have a film. And I started, and I thought, there's all these great characters, and personalities that were all great on interviews. And then I went through a second year doing more interviews, and I thought, there's no story here. They're all brilliant, but I couldn't see a beginning and a middle and an end.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I've got to just keep going, and I could. It was struggling, It was kind of the second year. You could see financially, it was in a tricky situation, and then and that's when I thought, I'm just going to keep going and keep going. But it wasn't until they had the fire that was a sort of pivotal point in the story, that everything changed. And it was then that I thought, well, actually, now there is more of a sort of fight for its survival. And then I think that's when it became a proper film.
Yeah. So why start? Like, what was the thing to start? Because if when you're thinking, all right, we'll do 6 months, boom, boom, we'll have a film. Like, what was the initial thought for what that film would be?
When I went, I took my daughter there. It was about 6 years ago, and I took my daughter on a Sunday. I just thought, I wonder if Rom's still open. So I went over, I was like, wow, it is still open, but it was all full of these middle-aged blokes. There was no kids there, and I was like, that's a bit weird. Skate park full of, you know, middle-aged blokes still skating and riding little bikes, you know, and then, but they were really friendly, and you know, and I could see there was like a sort of community that, because they'd been going there for such a long time. And then, you know, we kept going back every Sunday, and then someone said one day, oh, you know, the place is listed, it's grade 2 listed. I thought, what? And so I kind of went away, and I thought, well, you know, there's these old guys from the 70s, first generation of skaters and BMX riders in this park. And I Googled, and I found that, you know, there's no other park that's listed in the world. There's a run, there's like a concrete run in Australia, like way down into Western Australia, that has historic recognition, but there's nowhere else in the world. And I thought, well, that's got to be there's got to be something in this. And then someone said, oh, you got to speak to Professor Ian Baldwin from UCL. So I rang him up, and he happens to be the world expert on skate parks and you know, history of skating. And he lives over near you. He's over in Dulwich. And I thought, well, that's not a million miles away. It's not like he's in Venice or anything, California. So, you know, if I need to, I can go over there. And so he was the first person that I interviewed. And, you know, he's a professor of architecture, so he's very academic. And I thought, well, that's a great start, because it's not the typical perception you get of a skateboarder. You'd never associate, you know, this professor is an expert on skateboarding. And so that was it, really.
Right. That's why we open up kind of with him.
Yeah.
You know, as it were, really.
Yeah, because I think most, you know, you watch a skateboarding film and it's all kind of gnarly skateboarding in the beginning. And I thought, well, let's go, you know, start with a professor. You know?
Yeah. It wasn't, because I was always wondering, like, so can he skate? I wonder. Yeah, because he's talking, and I'm just like, can he skate? You know what I mean? I was waiting for the moment where we see him do an ollie or something.
Yeah. But he does, doesn't he? He's skating the pool in the film, you know. So he's great. He skates. There's a skate park at Crystal Palace that he was involved in the design of, and I think he's there every Sunday still. So, and he's like, I think Ian's like nearly 60 now. So, you know.
Yeah. So, why Sunday? Like, because we don't really get that, because they always say, yeah, every Sunday, you know, but what about the, like, I was always just wondering, like, what about the other days of the week? Why Sunday there?
Well, I guess same as like Sunday football, right? You know, Sunday football is the weekend, and that's when everyone gets out, isn't it? So, I mean, Saturdays, but yeah, Sundays is the, you know, people go to church on Sunday, right? So why not go to a skate park?
Possibly. They never really talk about how much it is either. You know, if it's always talking about, like, oh yeah, you have to pay. This is one of the other ones you have to pay.
I'll pay to go in.
But it's just like, how much? Like,
it's a $5. At the moment, it goes up and down depending on, I don't know, just, you know, like school holidays. They do special deals. School holidays to kind of get the kids in. And actually, is it Father's Day this Sunday? They're doing a special deal, like, you know, that kids bring your dad for free, that sort of thing, you know.
You know, 5,000, that's not too bad, like, considering, right? Because when they were talking about, you have to pay, I was like, you know, because there's some things that are, you know, it's a bit pricey, right? So it's that's your barrier of entry. So it was just like, oh, how much? Like, what's the grab? You know, to get people in. Like, have you? Because I haven't really seen that many skate parks, right? So I know the Crystal Palace, and I know there's the South Bank.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really come across many skate parks. But it's not something I'm kind of looking for. But you know, for you, what is it about Rom that kind of stands out?
Well, there are. I mean, you know, when in the 70s when it was built, there weren't many. There were like a handful of skate parks, you know, because it was the start of skateboarding, and a lot of them, you know, they were kind of built, and then the skateboarding craze died off So 78 was the big kind of boom for skate parks being built, and then by like 80 it was on the decline. So a lot of those were just knocked down and, you know, replaced by car parks or flats or whatever, you know. And then it wasn't until probably in the last 10 years or so that the council have started putting up skate parks in pretty much every park you go to. There'll be some form of a skate park, you know. But Rom is unique in that they don't build them like that, you know, like it would never pass council health and safety now, you know. In 1978 they just got a few builders in from Hackney and some shovels and some concrete and built them, and they're, you know, huge and deep and scary because they're based on the big ones from California. So that's why it's kind of unique in that they just don't build them like that anymore.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting the fact that, you know, councils are putting up skate parks, because you went through that weird stage where they were taking away swings and things like that because it's like too dangerous. You know, we can't have those things about, even though as a kid, you know, you'd go on the swings and you'd be like, I've heard of the kid that went all the way around. Can I do it? And you know, you fall off, you graze yourself, you know, people knock teeth out, but it's just, you know, it's kind of character build. It toughens you up, right? But they took all of that away. But now these skate parks are popping up, which is an interesting turn of events.
They all, I mean, a lot of them now, there's one, I was just looking at one the other day, and there's a big sign before you go into it, you know, basically saying whatever happens to you is your fault. You know, it's not the council's fault, right? So you got this waiver, this disclaimer that's how they get away with it, I guess.
Yeah. Like with you know, skateboarding and BMXing hitting the Olympics this year. I mean, if it does go ahead, that is like, do you like, was that a kind of a fault with putting this out now? Like you thought, this might be able to ride that wave, as it were?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, you know, the park is sort of struggling, you know, financially still, especially following the fire. You know, it kind of needs investment, it needs funding. And there's a body called Skateboard England that have been established, you know, off the back of the Olympics to try and grow the sport in the country. And one of the things that, you know, they do is that they're going to have a series of maybe half a dozen preferred skate parks as training grounds for future Olympians. And so we wanted to get this film, I wanted to get this film on the radar of you know, the likes of Skateboard England and potential funding to say, look, you know, this place, this incredibly important place historically, could be a great you know, place to create one of these preferred skate parks and get funding and build new facilities around the old original structure. So, you know, kind of people that aren't really into skateboarding but just want to see something, you know, like a lot of these guys, you know, they're into heritage and want to look at cathedrals and castles, will come and look at a skate park, buy a coffee, take some pictures, you know, and help, you know, kind of contribute to the future of the place, really.
Yeah, it does seem that there is a new kind of wave of that. Like you have shows like Betty, which, you know, from all accounts is very popular, and that's about, you know, skate culture. And there's another one which I can't remember. I remember watching a documentary a couple of years back. Oh, I say a couple of years, time does fly. Might be 3 or 4 years at London Film Festival. I think it was Skate Nation or Skate United. And it was a really good, it's about roller skating, the indoor roller rinks, and the fact that they're going away in the States and that kind of thing. And it was really interesting. But it was like, after watching that, it seemed that there was more and more of these things. There was more talk of, you know, skate culture. So it does seem that it might be, you know, re-emerging, like the phoenix has risen again, as it were.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, you know, I was down in Brighton last week, and it was really sunny, and I was driving through Brighton, and there was skateboarding everywhere. Like, just, you know, every road. There was kids on skateboards, and yeah. So there's definitely, I think, a resurgence in it for sure. Definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have everyone on e-bike, like, e-bikes and scooters and stuff like that. So, hey, why not a skateboard? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like it's
yeah,
cheaper, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. No, definitely, and yeah, and good for the environment, really,
Yeah.
and health, fitness, really as well.
Oh, definitely. And we're all about that right now, coming
Yeah,
out of COVID.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How easy was it to round everyone up, to get people to talk?
Well, I mean, that was part of the reason that I spent time learning to skate again, because I'd go to the park and I'd just get to know everyone. So I thought, if I just kind of turn up and, just start filming, it's not the same as if you know people. So, kind of after, so it wasn't until 6 months later that I actually pulled the camera out and started doing interviews. And everyone by then knew me, because I've been going, they knew what I was thinking of doing. And so it was, a lot of people have said you kind of get that when you watch it. You see there is a sort of, authenticity to the interviews. It's not like they're all, it's not like a professional media trained person you're interviewing. And so I wanted that. And then, yeah, so it was quite easy. I mean, from there, but the problem was, it was like then I'd interview someone and they'd go, "Oh yeah, you got to go and speak to so and so and so and so," and so that was, I just had to get this, kind of the interview list of people just got longer and longer and longer. But they were all great, like no one that I interviewed isn't in the film, so you know
Okay.
they all had a part in it.
Uh, and like putting it all together, right?
Mm,
Because everyone always says a film is made in the editing room. So,
mm.
like, was it clear to you that the narrative of the film, right, how it was going to flow together, and what needed to be cut, and anything else that might need to be shot? Like, was that all clear, or did it take a few run through?
Well, over the years, I kind of created like little mini films just to kind of, so that I knew, you know, there were like these little stories. So in my head, it was always, well, all I got to do really is just combine all these little stories together into a bigger thing.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't. If I'd have just started it completely from scratch, I think it would have been very difficult. But because I kind of had in my head, all right, we got the people, we got the fire, and then we've got the accidents, and then we've got the sort of community and the art stuff. And it was just how I kind of structured it around that.
uh Okay. Yeah. And has everyone there seen the piece? How do they all feel about it?
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, I mean, we did a because of COVID, we actually had a world premiere in Paris, a skate and film festival, which
Oh,
was in
nice.
October last year, which I actually drove over to, and then had 2 weeks of quarantine afterwards. But it was worth it to get to see it in a cinema. And
Yeah.
then a week later, we did a drive-in at drive-in screening, which was cool, and everyone loved it there. And then, so this Romford Film Festival is going to be the first time people can get to see it in a cinema, hopefully. I don't know what the news is today, or, it changes by the minute almost, isn't it?
Yeah. It really does. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's really good. So are you looking to take it to more festivals, or are you gonna hopefully screen it at any
Yeah.
games events and things like that?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I got an email yesterday from someone that there's an exhibition on at Somerset House, a skateboarding exhibition, and someone said,
Mm,
do you want to show it at the cinema there in probably September time? So we're going to talk about that. It just got into another film festival in San Francisco this morning. I got a message about that.
nice.
So I don't know. I'd like to go there, but I don't know what the deal is with that at the moment. But yeah, there's a few. There's about, actually, he's playing at one in Brighton as well. There's a few that's lined up to hopefully go into this year. So yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. So unfortunately, I know it's a very tight window with this. So Matt, let everyone know where
Yeah.
they can follow follow the film and follow yourself?
Yeah, you can. The film's on. You can follow. Website is romboys.film. You can actually watch it now on video on demand on Apple iTunes or on Amazon or any of those TVOD video on demand platforms. And yeah, and that's romboys.film is probably the place to watch it
Cool.
or
And
to,
is
to
there
follow
any,
the story behind it.
yeah, and is there any way of, if people want to help the ROM itself?
Yeah, there's the website romskatepark.co.uk. There's a new one being built at the moment. Hopefully going to have some sort of way to donate or to certainly find out, more about that sort of stuff. And all the social media as well for Rom Boys and Rom Skate Park on Instagram and Facebook is good to get kind of updates really on what's going on there.
That's great, man. Awesome. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And, yeah, I hope that all the festivals, you have a lot of success with that. You know what I mean? The Olympics and all of that really help invigorate people with this whole skateboard craze. And the ROM can find a new lease of life.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thanks for your time.
No worries, man. When you've got another project, stop by. And hopefully have a bit longer to talk about the whole process and get into things a little bit more.
Yeah, brilliant. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Matt. Take it easy.
Bye. Bye.